The first time he saw the child, she was standing alone at the edge of the burned ravine, holding a broken doll like it was the last promise left in the world. The wind moved through the canyon low and slow, carrying the smell of ash and old rain. The land had been wounded there, blackened stones, splintered brush, silence where birds should have been. It was the kind of place people avoided, not because it was dangerous, but because it reminded them how easily things could be taken away. Samuel Carter had not planned to be there. He was a man shaped by routine and distance. A widower without the word. A rancher who spoke more to his horses than to people. His life ran on habit because habit asked for nothing in return. Wake before dawn. Feed the animals. Mend what the night had broken. Sleep when the body gave up. Repeat. He told himself that was living. That morning, his horse had spooked near the ravine, refusing to move forward. Samuel had followed its gaze, and that was when he saw her. She did not cry out. Did not wave. Did not run. She just stood there, small, still, watching him with eyes far older than her body should have allowed. Samuel dismounted slowly, his boots crunching against ash and stone. He raised his hands slightly, not because he thought she would attack, but because some instincts lived deeper than logic. "Hey there," he said gently. The child did not answer. Her hair was dark and tangled, her clothes torn and stained with soot. One sleeve hung loose, as if it had been ripped away. Dirt marked her face, but beneath it, her features were delicate, composed, quiet. Apache, he realized, or something close. He had grown up around tribes, around boundaries drawn on maps that never meant much to the people who lived before them. She clutched the doll tighter. Samuel crouched down, keeping space between them. "You hurt." A pause. Then, barely louder than the wind, she said, "No." The word was careful, English learned slowly, protected. He nodded. "I'm Samuel." She did not give her name. He noticed then that she was barefoot. Her feet were scraped raw. The ground had not been kind. "Are you alone?" he asked. Her gaze drifted past him, toward the ravine. Toward what was no longer there. "Yes." That answer landed heavier than any scream. Samuel swallowed. He had learned long ago that there were questions you did not ask too quickly. Some truths broke if you rushed them. "Come with me," he said softly. "I've got water, food." She studied him the way animals do, not with fear, but with judgment. Measuring tone, stillness, intention. Then she nodded. The ride back to the ranch was quiet. She sat in front of him on the saddle, light as a breath, holding the doll with one arm and gripping the leather with the other. She did not lean into him. Did not pull away. Samuel felt the unfamiliar weight of responsibility settle into his chest. At the ranch, he wrapped her feet, gave her water, warmed soup on the stove. She ate slowly, carefully, like someone who had learned that food could disappear without warning. "What's your name?" he asked again, later. "Ayanna," she said. The name sounded like wind over stone. "That's a good name," he said. She looked at him then, not smiling, not afraid. Just listening. He gave her his spare room. The one that had stayed closed for years. The one that still smelled faintly of lavender and old sunlight. He hesitated before opening the door, something tightening in his chest, but it was too late to turn back. That night, Samuel did not sleep. He sat at the kitchen table, lamp burning low, listening for footsteps that never came. His thoughts ran in circles. He was not a young man. He was not prepared. He did not know where she had come from or who she belonged to. But he knew one thing with quiet certainty. He could not send her away. Days passed. Ayanna spoke little, but she watched everything. Learned the ranch faster than most grown men. She followed Samuel like a shadow, always at a respectful distance. When he worked, she sat nearby. When he rested, she stayed within sight. Trust, Samuel realized, was not given to her freely. It was something she built, piece by piece, like shelter against a storm. He contacted the nearby town. The sheriff, a missionary who worked with the tribes. No one had reported a missing child. No survivors from the burned ravine had been found. But Samuel noticed something else. Whenever he mentioned taking her to town, Ayanna's hands tightened around her doll. Her shoulders went rigid. Her eyes went far away. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the land turned gold, she spoke without looking at him. "My mother is alive." Samuel froze. "Are you sure?" Ayanna nodded. "She told me to hide. She said she would come." "How long ago?" The child hesitated. "Long." Samuel closed his eyes. Hope was a dangerous thing. Still, Days turned into weeks. And slowly, the ranch changed. Laughter appeared in places it had not lived for years. Small footprints marked the dust. Samuel found himself telling stories at night, about storms he'd survived, horses he'd loved, mistakes he'd made. Ayanna listened, eyes bright, as if storing each word carefully. He taught her to ride. She taught him patience, and somewhere in that quiet exchange, something inside Samuel softened. He began to imagine a future that did not end in silence. Then one afternoon, as autumn crept into the land, a woman appeared at the gate. She stood tall despite the wear of travel. Her clothes were simple, worn thin by grief and distance. Her hair, dark and heavy, fell over her shoulders like a curtain she no longer bothered to lift. Her face bore the marks of loss, but beneath them, a beauty that was not delicate, but strong. Earned. Samuel felt the world tilt. Ayanna saw her first. She ran. "Mama." The woman dropped to her knees just in time to catch the child, holding her as if letting go would shatter reality itself. Tears fell freely, soundlessly, into her daughter's hair. Samuel stood back, heart pounding, unsure where he belonged in that moment. When the woman finally looked up at him, her eyes met his with a mix of gratitude and fierce caution. "I am Elena," she said. "You kept my daughter alive." Samuel nodded, voice rough. "I tried." She stood, still holding Ayanna's hand. "Then I owe you more than words." "No," he said quickly. "You don't owe me anything." Elena studied him for a long moment. Then she said something that surprised him. "May we stay?" The question hung in the air, fragile and brave. Samuel looked at the land, the house, the child at his side, the woman whose grief mirrored his own. "Yes," he said, "as long as you need." That night, after Ayanna slept safely between clean sheets and warm walls, Samuel and Elena sat across from each other in the quiet kitchen. They spoke of fire, of loss, of husbands buried too soon, of days survived only because survival demanded it. The silence between them was not empty. It was shared, and neither of them said what both were beginning to feel, that in saving a child, something else had been awakened. Something dangerous, something hopeful, something that might demand more courage than either of them had left. This was only the beginning. The days after Elena's arrival carried a fragile kind of peace, the sort that felt borrowed rather than owned. She worked quietly, helping where she could, never asking for more space than she was given. Samuel noticed the way she watched the horizon at dusk, the way her shoulders tightened at sudden sounds. Grief had taught her vigilance. It had taught him the same. Ayanna slept better with her mother near, laughed more easily. The doll, once clutched like a shield, now rested forgotten on the shelf. One evening, as the fire burned low, Elena spoke without looking at Samuel. "You did not have to keep her." "I know," he said. "Most men would not." "I'm not most men." She smiled then, small, careful, but real. It struck him harder than any confession. They shared stories in fragments. Not the whole truth at once. Just enough to be seen. Her husband, taken by sickness. His life, hollowed by years of quiet survival. Between them lay an understanding that did not need naming yet. But the world, as always, watched. A rider passed the ranch road one morning. Then another. Whispers travel fast in open land. A lone man, a widow, a child with a history others might want to claim. That night, Elena stood beside Samuel on the porch. "If danger comes," she said softly, "I will leave. I will not put you at risk." He shook his head. "We face what comes, together." She looked at him then, really looked, at the steadiness, the choice in his voice. And for the first time since the fire, Elena allowed herself to believe something fragile and powerful. That safety could be more than a memory. That love, even wounded, might still find a way to stand.